How's it going, fellas, and welcome to the channel where I kick back, relax and talk NBA 2K22, and finally my NBA 2K22 Mycareer review is here, fellas. Is NBA 2K22's Mycareer better than NBA 2K21? My god, yes, fellas. Yes. This game is night and day compared to NBA 2K21. It really is. I wasn't a fan at all when it comes to NBA 2K21's Mycareer. It was a joke. It was boring. It was bland. It was pathetic. But NBA 2K22's Mycareer is so close to a home run this year, fellas, with all the new added features, a populated city that really brings it to life instead of the ghost town of what we got last year. It was a joke how bad it was last year, but this is different, fellas. Trust me, if you are a fan of Mycareer and enjoyed the Mycareer series back in the day, it's back better than ever. But I will say one thing, fellas, this Mycareer won't be for everybody. If you're not a fan of the off-the-court stuff, you won't like this Mycareer, fellas. If you're a player that just likes to badge grind or play games over and over and over again, just playing through the NBA career, it's not for you, fellas, because there are so many side quests and quests that you have to do and you're forced into them. Yeah, you can skip the cutscenes, but you'll still have to run to each location to trigger the cutscene to progress in your career. That sucks, fellas. For the people that don't like the off-the-court stuff, it sucks, but I love the off-the-court stuff. It is a bit long-winded at times, trust me, fellas, running from one quest to another, then back to play games and all sorts of stuff. It would be better if we had some sort of fast travel feature, but it wasn't in there. But at the end of the day, you could put NBA 2K21 current gen and next gen together and it still wouldn't come close to Mycareer in NBA 2K22, fellas. There's so many quests, so many things to do. It really does feel like a GTA or an Assassin's Creed in an NBA game, but it's only good for Mycareer. Like I said, fellas, it's a chore traveling everywhere. You get a sigh of relief when you realize your quest is only 150 meters away instead of 950 meters away. So the next thing I want to talk about is the gameplay, fellas. The gameplay has been overhauled, and the first thing you will notice right off the bat is the AI on defense is a hell of a lot smarter. I'm only playing on Superstar and they clamp me up at times. Ben Simmons is a defensive god, fellas. Giannis is so hard to get past and things like that. It makes it a hell of a lot harder to get an A+ this year, harder than ever before. And I really like the challenge. I like to learn what the AI does and try to exploit it. Making the right play this year is so important. If you make a bad pass, fellas, it will be stolen every single time. It's a little OP at times where they'll kung fu it out of the sky and they'll literally be behind a player and then morph in front of players, or it's a bit weird at times, trust me, fellas. But if you make the right pass, your teammate is a lot more reliable to make greens. Yeah, they're not knocked down, but they are more reliable to hit a green. I wouldn't rely on them to make the game-winning shot, but from play to play, you can hit them when they're open and somewhat have a consistent chance of getting the basket, which is a good thing, because last year, if you threw it to a player, and I'm playing on the Pistons where I don't think they have many three-point shooters, and they're still making shots, so throwing it to like Kevin Durant, or throwing it to a Clay or a Steph would be a complete different story. As I said, I'm playing with the Pistons, so they don't really have too many offensive threats. The next thing I want to talk about is you can actually notice superstars on the court a lot more. Yeah, you can contain them, but for the most part, it's cool just to see LeBron take over a game at times. Giannis takes over a game. Like, my Pistons could not stop him. I wasn't playing in the small forward position, but they just couldn't stop him. He scored like 45 points or something. It was great. I like to see that sort of stuff. I like to see the superstar take over, but it's hard to make the superstar take over when I have so much control of how the game is played and the outcome of the game. So it's hard for superstars to perform so highly when I can do certain things to make them not perform. So the next thing I want to talk about is AI offense. Yes, the AI defense has been improved a lot, fellas, but the offense is pretty much the same. They just run some random play, it won't work, and then they'll just rim run and hope for the best. They will pass to I'm mumbling at me ass crack again, fellas, but mismatches they will exploit a lot, especially the ones in the paint. They will throw it into the paint and you will struggle if there is a mismatch. If you're on the big man and you're a guard, or you're a big man on on a guard, whatever, it will be a struggle. Trust me, fellas, to try and not give up the basket pretty much, fellas. It's crazy how much mismatches actually are effective this year, which is great. But the AI still struggles to think on its own, fellas. On offense, you just pretty much run plays. If you're not running plays, they pretty much just stand in the corners. That's all that they do. So I do suggest if you want a bit of ball movement and you are struggling a little bit, just to turn on coach runs plays, where the coach runs the plays for you. It gets a bit more movement from your players on offense, from cutting to the basket, setting off ball screens and things like that, and just doesn't rely on you to create all the time, which is great. And sometimes the AI can create something, and most of the time they don't. But the next thing I want to talk about is the story. The story has evolved, fellas. I was playing at the start, the story was pretty boring, and I was thinking, here we go again. But as soon as I found the NBA, as soon as I got into the league, it all started getting good, fellas, with huge things happening early in the season, early in the game, which is great, with decisions actually affecting relationships this year. I love it, fellas, I really do. I'm going with a cocky, arrogant character, so a lot of the coaching staff, my teammates, and the business people at the organization of the Pistons hate me. They want me gone. It's great. They want nothing to do with me. So I've requested a trade and everything. So none of my teammates like me. My coaching staff doesn't like me. It's great. There's actually consequences for my actions, which is brilliant. I've asked and asked and asked for this to be a thing in the Mycareer for a very long time. They've had it previously in a very small increments in the older 2Ks, but this has been taken to a whole new level, and it's great. It takes Mycareer a step further. The stories actually is my story. It's actually my career and the decisions that I make, which is great, because that's what it's all about, to make my career different from Joe Blow's career or Johnny No Thumb's career. You know what I mean, fellas? These decisions are the things that make each career unique. So the next thing I want to talk about is just the tons of off the court stuff between the fashion, the music, the races, and everything in between. There's so many things to do along the way. Compared to last year where there was just 20 garage games that you do in about 2 hours, there's so many different things to explore, a huge city to explore with different shops and different quests to find and everything in between. It's great. It's a thriving city with so many NPCs that you can interact with and get story or quests from. You just love to see it, fellas. They finally put the time and the effort in. Maybe they should have just scrapped the career last year because it was a joke how bad it was, but you can see the potential of the city. You can see the potential of next gen Mycareer when you play this. You can sit there and think, wow, this is a step in the right direction. This is great. This is something we've never seen before. But the last thing I want to talk about when it comes to the story, and it's not all sunshine and rainbows, fellas, when it comes to the story, it gets corny at times. You're trying to be a YouTuber, basketballer or some shit, and some of the lingo that they talk about, it sounds like I'm a 14-year-old 2K player trying to make it on YouTube. But for the most part, it's a decent story, except for Kendrick Perkins. Please don't put him in a 2K game ever again, fellas. It just looks like he's reading from a script. He sounded like a one-tone robot, fellas. Please put him on the back burner with B Fresh and the guy that dances with a mop. Just cut him out of the game for 2K23. His voice acting isn't up to it. So the next thing I want to talk about is the Mycareer worth buying this year. Finally, Mycareer. It's not a badge grinder this year, fellas. It actually has a great story and it's been taken to a whole new level. Like I said, the story's a bit corny at times, but overall the story is great. It has good flow that lets you train and play games along the way, so that you play 3 or 4 games, then you get a bit of story, then you might play 1 or 2 games, get a bit of story. It's good flow. I like it, fellas. I really do enjoy the career because I'm a fan of the off the court stuff. The on the court stuff is where this game lacks. The gameplay does get very repetitive very, very quickly. All games pretty much feel the same, fellas. Unless you're playing like a LeBron or Giannis or a superstar player in your position that you're matching up against, all games feel the same. If you're not running plays to get open, it's very hard to get open. It gets boring very, very quickly because your freelance basketball just isn't there on higher difficulties when your teammates are just that bad on offense. As I said, fellas, if you aren't running plays, games feel very, very repetitive. They really do. All games feel the same, but it gets saved by the off the court stuff. I'm loving the off the court stuff, fellas. I really am. Like, there's so many things to do and so many things to see and so many decisions to be made. This is the first time in a long time that I felt like an NBA player making real decisions that NBA players would actually make, and making these decisions based on what's best for me and my career. I never thought that the off the court stuff would actually outshine the the gameplay, but here we are. But anyway, guys, just a few final thoughts. The last thing I want to talk about is just a few final thoughts, and if you're a player that just plays the games and doesn't care about the off-the-court stuff, I don't think you'll like this Mycareer. This Mycareer is not for you. But if you're a fan of the off-the-court stuff and like the off-the-court stuff between the games, you'll love this game because it's more about the actual career than just playing games. But anyway, guys, I've talked and raved long enough. If you do like these rant, raves, whatever you want to call them, on NBA 2K22's Mycareer, don't forget to leave a like, hit the subscribe button, and comment down below all your thoughts and opinions when it comes to NBA 2K22 Next Gen's Mycareer. Do you like it? Do you hate it? Leave it all in the comments below. But anyway, guys, I've talked and raved long enough. Leave a like, comment, subscribe, and I'll catch you later.